So we're going to kick off today's show with one of our partners who helped us bring this very studio to life. Joining us now from iCan are CEO James Tian and Channel Account Manager Daniel Napier. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. How's it going so far?
Busy so far. We're at this end, so the traffic is slowly picking up. But yes, really good customers through so far.
So it's awesome to have you here again with AVIXA TV, and you've partnered with us before. Can you give us a brief overview of the company and what you've provided for the set here at InfoComm?
Sure, absolutely. So we are a manufacturer of traditional video broadcast equipment. We're based in Houston, Texas. We were founded in 2005, so we've been around for 20 years now. And this year for AVIXA TV Studio, we provided a suite of our broadcast panel and Fresnel lighting. We provided some traditional DMX 512 lighting, as well as our new cutting-edge power over Ethernet lighting that is controlled with ArtNet, SACN, and QSys.
Wonderful. And I know right now we're seeing a huge trend from driving from traditional broadcasting to more IP-based broadcasting, if you will. Can you speak a little bit about that trend that you're seeing and what's pushing that trend and how is that working for both content creators and organizations?
Great question. It's a big deal for broadcast. We've been running on baseband for decades now, moving from SD to HD baseband. The big change to IP has a lot of benefits for both the installation and integration process, as well as the end user and the use case. So in terms of integration, it effectively allows you to scale into network-based infrastructure in a much easier way than baseband. Things that are network-based is centralized, whereas baseband is still line-to-line communication. So that's a huge benefit. For the end customer, it's really about automation. When you can tap into the power of IP-based workflows, you're able to augment your production team to be able to offset a lot of the traditional processes into software, right? And that's a huge amplifying effect for our end customers.
Wonderful.
So what solutions does iCan have to meet specific needs and constraints that, say, corporate education environments face when setting up a broadcast studio?
Yeah. Traditional broadcast, we're talking about call letters, right? That is iCan's bread and butter. They have dedicated teams of people. They can build a studio to their heart's content in terms of size and footprint and height of the ceiling. Corporations and a lot of education, they're limited by the footprint of what their existing facility can have, right? Oftentimes we're seeing drop ceilings. Oftentimes we're seeing that they're just taking an existing room or area of the building and trying to convert it. And so because of those constraints, what we've done is we've designed a suite of lighting that's powered over Ethernet. The beauty is that these are low voltage lighting. And not only that, but we've designed some of them to be extra low profile, so they can be installed in the drop ceiling. The CAT cables can just go into the network and just directly, and again, it's IP-based workflow, so it can talk directly to the building and all the infrastructure that's already built into that existing footprint.
Powerful.
Wonderful. And can you dive a little bit deeper into what makes that power over Ethernet lighting so beneficial? Because you have so many organizations. They may not be as large. I think you were sharing with us a Home Depot, build out that they wanted to turn, what area into a broadcast studio, but not every organization can do that. So can you tell us the benefits of that power over Ethernet lighting and how that helps out with on a smaller scale?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, if you're talking about a corporation that's looking to retrofit an existing space, the process of obtaining a permit to be able to properly, power the ceiling and install lighting could be a deal breaker. Depending on your city or state or region, the permitting process can be very difficult. We had that challenge too. We moved into a new building, but the electrical diagram of the building that we moved into, even though it's a 10-year-old building, was lost. And so we had to hire electricians to redraw the entire grid. It cost a lot of money. And then we had to go through the permitting process, which takes time and money. And oftentimes that could kill a project. Power over Ethernet means it's low voltage and it's permit free, right? So you can have the integrator go directly into the studio and build it as soon as they're able to schedule the time slot to start the installation process. The other benefit of network-based control systems is the automation, right? Traditional television have the benefit of a crew of people in the control room to operate the switchers and the light board, corporations may not have that luxury. So they're going to have their AV team feel comfortable with operating broadcast equipment. And the only way they can do that is if there's enough automation in the workflow for them to hit pre-programmed buttons or virtual buttons on a touchscreen. And so those are some of the challenges that we saw in our corporate customers and what's preventing them from adopting broadcast, because they all want to create better content in-house, right? But it's the workflow, it's the learning curve that oftentimes is the constraint.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know it firsthand from some of the work I've done in XR, corporate broadcast. There is a huge skills gap for some of this technology. So what kind of solutions are you looking at to really help bridge that gap?
Well, let's outline what the challenges are. It's kind of twofold. So it starts with the system integrator. The system integrator historically has been more AV focused. So some of the larger ones are more clued up to this emergence of AV and broadcast, but there are a lot that's still very traditional, working on conference rooms, working on breakout spaces, so they don't necessarily have the core skills to understand the broadcast type workflows, the connectivity, the protocols, the equipment. So there's got to be some education from the SIs to bring people on board to educate. Until that happens, there's going to be an ongoing struggle at the SI level. Even the bigger companies tend to have only 1 or 2 people that have that knowledge. There is a skill shortage because when people leave with that skill set, it can take an employer 2-3 years to join the SI to bring that knowledge in. So that is one fundamental problem that I can identify. The second challenge is the equipment that's been sold into the corporate environment is way too technical. We're going, I'm not going to mention names, but there's some big brand products here that are great for broadcast, but they take, someone a couple of years of knowledge and experience to operate. You're putting a broadcast piece of equipment into a control room where that person's day job might be communications, and expecting them to understand all the nuances around audio levels, switching, best practices. So I think the second issue is how we address that. And that is simplifying some of the solutions that go in, and it has to be training. I've put in many an installation in where I would come back 2 or 3 times to give the local customer best practice training, and that did somewhat help. The problem is it's not something you can just drop in and drop out. It takes time because people, if it's new to them, it's going to take time to absorb that information.
Yeah, it really does.
Wonderful. And if we, get it to a point where that technology is easier to use, and as this demand for high quality in-house video production continues to grow, where do you see the role of corporate broadcasting evolving going through the next years? And how is ICANN preparing for what's next in this area?
There's really no limit to corporate and adoption of broadcast and video workflows. I mean, think about in any given city, you may have 3, 4, 5, or 6 TV stations, right? And each one of those may have 1 to 3 studios. Think about how many businesses are across America in every city, right? In every high-rise building, how many different businesses. I mean, there's some stats that I have learned, just the amount of just corporations that want to produce content, as well as live communications, right? You're talking about conference rooms that are being converted with broadcast level lighting products like ours, including teleprompters like what we're using right now, right? It helps to improve the marketing and sales experience, right? You have a sales force that want to go in and deliver just an A+ quality presentation. Guess what? A teleprompter is going to let that team speak as if they memorized the sales pitch and the script on cue without having to do that, without having the prep work that's necessary because of the benefit of a prompter. And so those are all traditional equipment that we're streamlining through IP workflows, through automation, so that that's all going to be user-friendly, right? A salesperson, a marketing team, they're not going to want to go into a control room and click a lot of buttons and touch a lot of faders. What they want is simple, touchscreen automation. And so that's what we want to deliver for them. We have a great partnership with QSys. We've released official plugins for our lighting, so our entire lighting system can be, programmed into presets based on events, activities, based on even people in the room and who those people are in the room. So that's already in use, that's already in the market, and we actually use that in our own studio because it makes things so much easier. And then when we can layer that with teleprompters and video switching and PTZ cameras, I mean, that really is going to deliver that high quality experience for customers that don't have to learn how to use the equipment, right? The salesperson, the marketing person. Yeah. Once they have that, the adoption of the technology, the usage is going to make the ROI a lot more sense. And so we're excited about that near future for us and for the corporate market.
That's fantastic, and I assume you have all of that technology at your booth here at InfoComm, so people can come by and check it out. In addition to coming by to our studio as well.
We absolutely do. We have a great sampling of the technology. Our booth is 7760, and we have beyond the lighting. We've talked so much about some of the other equipment, including teleprompters and studio control systems that are represented. You know, the future of corporate broadcast made available today.
Really exciting.
And can I just add a quick comment? I think the other thing that we as a company are looking to do is offer more training. We already have an AVIXA approved lighting course, 4.5 credits. So we need to work on some others like studio etiquette, studio production workflows, designing studios. I think if we can share that knowledge to the industry, I think everyone's going to benefit from it. And
I love that.
So that's something that we are going to be focusing on over the next year or two. So the lighting course is already available, and you can reach out to ICANN, and we may be able to run a specialized course for individuals, but certainly growing that content is very important to us.
That's fantastic.
Wonderful.
Great point, Daniel. Thank you for wrapping that up. And thank you both for joining us today and for all of your support on the AVIXA TV booth here. We wish you a very successful rest of InfoComm.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.